Hey everyone, Rascal here, and welcome to another Rascal Reviews. And this time for December, I'm reviewing one of my favorite and I personally think underrated films, Fred Claus. Now, I know that most people don't know about this film, and I've pretty much found out recently why. This was not received well by critics at all. It had a big premiere, but it did not do well at the box office. It's got more of a cult following now years later, like Speed Racer and some other films. And at the time, it was considered a movie that was trying too hard to be a feel-good film, trying too hard to be sentimental and happy, and Vince Vaughn being the angry guy didn't fit well with it trying to be an upbeat movie. Well, to me, I think that was the point. It was a lot like Shark Tale. I think the point he was supposed to be a jerk on purpose. Now, I'm getting to it immediately right after I tell you the plot of the story. Well, sorry, the plot of the movie. The story and the plot are the same thing. So the plot is that Vince Vaughn plays Fred Claus, who's the brother of Santa Claus, played by Paul Giamatti. In this universe, Santa Claus is real, and he's well known, but a lot of people still don't really believe in him. Kids believe in him, but most adults pretty much forget him after a while, don't believe, but it is confirmed he is a real guy, and they kind of treat Christmas like a business deal. And I'm getting to that in a minute. And the way that the whole thing pans out is pretty genius. And it's supposed to be loosely based off a story called Santa Claus and His Brother Fred, which I didn't know existed. I kind of thought this was the original idea, but lo and behold, it's based off something that exists. But personally, I didn't think it was a bad movie. It had maybe one or two parts in there I didn't like that weren't feel good. They were just kind of like it went a little far in the mean-spiritedness. But aside from that, I thought it was a great movie. I really loved it. I saw this on TV one day. I had heard about it once or twice, and they said, this actually sounds like a fun idea. I want to see it. And after it was over, I immediately wanted to see it again. I absolutely loved this movie. I really think it deserves way more credit. And I think it's a little ironic that they didn't like it was trying to be a feel-good movie when there really aren't a lot of feel-good Christmas movies out right now. Of course, they have their Hallmark Channel type movies where they're so bad they're fun to watch, and your classics, and the Christmas Story airs every year. But this year, if you guys watch Netflix, there isn't really a lot of new content this time around. They're kind of doing sequels like A Christmas Story Christmas. They're doing Spirited on Apple TV with Ryan Reynolds and Will Ferrell. They're kind of doing like parodies of Christmas movies now. They're not really doing the classic style of making the films. They're just doing parodies of making the classic movies, which I think is a little odd, at least to me. It's kind of like, you sure you want to do that? Because the whole point is a lot of people like having that feel-good theme with their movies. But I digress. This movie, I think they did a good job in portraying the feel-good part. And the mean-spiritedness comes from Fred himself. And they show the backstory of why and how he became like this. And in here, the Clauses are immortal. I'm not kidding you. And because Santa Claus is a official saint, his whole family's been immortal. And I think that goes with some old folklore. I'm not really sure about it. I'm not sure if they made that up or that is actually part of mythology. You can let me know in the comments below if you do. And what happens is that you kind of get hints immediately that Santa Claus will become Santa Claus, or in this case, Nick will become Santa. And what's funny is how they build it up. It's kind of like how Claus had years later, which I think probably inspired it. There's things that happens in his childhood where you can tell this is where the main trace of Santa Claus came from. Like his ho ho ho, making the Christmas tree, making the toys, giving to others. And it's actually pretty well done. And amidst this, at first Fred is happy that Nick is being generous. But then he starts to get a little jealous because it feels like everyone is praising Nick because he's being more kind-hearted and giving to others. And he starts to feel like they're loving him or paying attention to Nick more than him. And then this unfortunately grows into resentment towards Nick. And this lasts for, I can say now, centuries, because at the time it was taking place, it was in, well, no way to put it, olden times. It wasn't even 1800s. It was pretty far back. And centuries later, might as well say, Fred really hasn't changed. He's kind of adapted into being sort of this stoic guy that hates Christmas, which is sort of ironic considering he's the brother of the guy that runs Christmas. And he gets into trouble quite often. He kind of acts like the trope brother, no good brother-in-law that always gets into trouble. That's kind of what they have in here. Nick, or Santa, is doing pretty well. He's living well. He lives in the North Pole. He's got a business. He's got a wife. He's got a job and everything. So I kind of like that they kind of play it off as Santa was a successful brother and then Fred was just the other brother. And it's absolutely hilarious because when he tries to tell his girlfriend or other people that what happened with his brother and how he feels in his shadow and everything, they're like, "Whoa, what does your brother do?" "Oh, he's Santa." And they look at him like he's crazy and they immediately don't believe him anymore. And it's not until later in the film when some of them actually see him and they're like, "Oh my gosh, he was telling the truth." And it's absolutely hilarious. And they even play this even further when they get further along into the film. They have this group called Brothers... I don't want to say Brothers Anonymous, but it's kind of like Alcohol Anonymous. And it's all these real brothers of famous people. Like they have the brother of Sylvester Stallone, the brother of Alec Baldwin, the brother of Bill Clinton. And it's brilliantly done. And they tell why they feel like they're the odd one out because they're not famous. And it's hilarious. It's so well done. It's one of my favorite scenes of the movie. And as the film goes on, Fred's arc in the thing is that he learns to become a better brother and a better person and a better man. He's been harboring a lot of jealousy and resentment towards his brother for years, and lots of the other family kind of either he doesn't deal with them or they don't deal with him. And the reason why is because of how he acts around the holidays. He doesn't really act that well, and he wears his emotions on his sleeve. It's pretty obvious he doesn't like Nick, and when he does, he is really jealous. But what I do like is that Nick is still always there for Fred. They still keep in how Santa Claus would act with him. He even gives him a job at the North Pole to rate all of the letters from kids if they're naughty or nice. And I even like that they try to build up a sort of lore to the North Pole. They have it be this mini city, which probably is the theme I like the most for the North Pole. It's like a miniature city. And it's like hundreds, almost thousands of elves there, so he's not alone. He's got his wife there for support. He's got the magical sleigh plus technology at the same time. And to order to see the children who've been naughty or nice, he's got this giant snow globe. So it's not he knows when you're asleep, he knows when you're awake. He just goes pretty much online and checks. So I guess maybe he had the original Google Maps. And if a kid's been naughty or nice, he knows immediately with or without the letters. So I think that was a pretty ingenious part to put in. And a second plot, well, I'll say subplot, secondary plot or subplot if you want to put it like that, is that there's this man named Mr. Northcutt played by Kevin Spacey. And yes, he was in this film, so you know, and he was playing the pseudo-antagonist in here. And Mr. Northcutt seemed to have something against Santa. You don't find out why until the end of the movie, and I won't spoil it for you. And he's warning Santa that if he finds enough violations within the North Pole, he'll shut down the North Pole and shut down Christmas altogether. And you're kind of like, how the heck do you have the power to do that? But in this world, they kind of run the holidays like a business. Christmas and Easter and Valentine's Day, all these different federal holidays have their own business to them, and he's in charge of taking notice of the figureheads in charge of them, or the mascots of them, and seeing if they're up to par on their jobs. And it's so like if they made Rise of the Guardians and made everyone had a job. And I think that's actually pretty hilarious because a lot of people treat Christmas like a business with the business hours and buying the toys and everything. They treat it like a business, so they literally tried to make Christmas into a business, and I love that about it. And as I said, as the film goes on, Fred goes through this arc of seeing that his brother isn't as bad as he thought. He has a lot of reflection in there, and I will say by the end of the movie, he definitely comes out different. And I think that was pretty much the whole point of the film. Even someone as curmudgeon and bitter, because that's pretty much what he was in the film, could have a turnaround. And I didn't feel like the sentimental moments between him and Santa were forced. I thought they were really well done. They worked off each other really well. Both Vince Vaughn and Paul Giamatti actually worked well together. You kind of got the tongue-in-cheek thing, having a brother of Santa being there, and it's not Krampus. I really think they did a great job on it, and I recommend this movie to anyone who has not seen or even heard of it. It's a hilarious film. I watch it every year. I even wanted to do a cast for it, and I'm not sure if it's going to be out this year or not. If not, I'll definitely have it for next year because it is one of my favorite holiday movies, and I recommend it to anyone who wants a good laugh. You will love this movie. Now, if you haven't seen it, go watch it as soon as you can. It might be available on HBO Max as a Warner Brothers film, or you can buy it on DVD. It's pretty cheap on Amazon. And let me know what you thought of it. And if you have seen Fred Claus, I'll be stunned because I've never met anyone else that has seen it. Let me know in the comments below. Did you love it like me? You think it was just an okay film, pretty good? Or did you kind of hate it like some of the critics? Let me know in the comments below. And I'll see you guys in the next review. Later.